Hey everybody, and welcome to the Almost Daily Dave. We started the month of September. We are playing football. Yes, this shirt is exactly what you think it is. And let's get to a topic that I'm going to do today and tomorrow on the Almost Daily Dave that was suggested by Jimmy Davis, who is a Facebook friend, and came up with a great idea. Now that we've technically started college football, not technically, we did. Jimmy asked if I name some of the memorable places in college football that I broadcast from, and I thought this would be a two-parter on the Almost Daily Dave. So I thought today I'd take 5, and then I'd take probably my top 5. Now, these are all places you've heard of. These are all places you've seen on television. One of them isn't around anymore. You could probably quickly guess which one that is, and I'm going to save that one for tomorrow. So I go back, and I've only been to this place twice, and only once for a regular season game, but I have to mention Auburn. It was a radio game, as a matter of fact, and it was Auburn against Mississippi State. And what I remember, several things. Number one is they start making PA announcements about 90 minutes before kickoff that you need to be in your seat an hour before kick. Well, guess what? They were, because I'd probably gone to the press box or maybe to the men's room or something, and I come back out with about an hour before kick, and they're all there. Tailgates are put away. Folks are in seats, even students. And what they're waiting for is the War Eagle, which flies from one end of the stadium to the other. It is breathtaking. Probably should have put Auburn a little higher, but it was the first one I thought of when I was writing these down because it was a truly epic experience. And it's a good game. Fans were wonderful, and it's a great place to watch a football game, as you might guess. And right behind that, Alabama. Now, I've only done one game there. That also was for radio. But what I remembered most about it was, well, actually several things. It was October. Weather was perfect. People were tailgating, and they were cleaning up after themselves as if they didn't want to leave any garbage or any trash or anything around that might desecrate the place. And the comment I made to a buddy of mine who was with me was, this is kind of like their first of 2 church services for the weekend. Folks will go to church on Sunday morning, but they've already been to church on Saturday evening at the University of Alabama. It felt that way. It felt almost like a worship session as much as a football game. And Alabama took care of business that day, as they usually do. Can't remember how many years ago it was now. I really can't. But I remember walking out of there, and also at Alabama, they have these unbelievable, almost mansions for fraternity and sorority life. So you're walking by those on your way. It's an impressive setting. But I just remember the reverence almost for Alabama football that you could smell in that stadium. You could just absolutely sense the awe that the fans held in that program and how much it means to them. Another one is kind of like that, and I've only, again, made just one visit, and that was Penn State. Now, I wasn't there for any of their famous games, but I can tell you that the whole environment, the town itself, the stadium, which at the time the press box was a little bit beat up. They've redone it. But I just loved it. I just, 100,000 folks in there, all with one common goal. And I remember thinking, and it's right there. And the funny thing is, it's a really small town. All right. So you've got the arena. And I believe the night before, Jay-Z was doing a concert. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it was on the marquee. And then we had our game. No, I did not go to the concert. Probably should have, but I didn't. But just, again, a reverential environment, an atmosphere of love and passion for this Penn State team. They were playing an overmatched team. I mean, Joe Paterno was still coaching. That's how long ago this was. And this is all before all the bad things hit. So but I just thought the beauty, you talk about a pastoral setting. That is State College, Pennsylvania. So all for it. Hope to have a chance to go back one day. Ohio State, as I stay in the Big Ten. And it's not necessarily that the horseshoe is that beautiful. But again, you want to talk about an environment. When the band comes out, that's big. And, of course, seeing Scrip, Ohio in person is something you don't forget about very easily. It was a Big Ten game against Indiana, and Ohio State won. And I would actually get them the next week when they were the number 1 team in the country, and I'm going to save that one for tomorrow. But, the horseshoe is a must-list kind of place. Again, the city of Columbus revolves around that program in particular, all the great sports they have at Ohio State. And I mean, their track stadium is the Jesse Owens Track Stadium. That's something you don't forget very easily, too. But that environment, that reverence they have, and it's interesting. I've used the word reverence probably 4 times already in talking about these places, but that's kind of what it feels like when you're dealing with these passionate fans who have all sorts, have the baby bibs for their new ones and put a little football in the crib, and no matter what, they're with their team. And it was an easy win for Ohio State, and that is someplace. So number 6, actually, counting is difficult. And this was a tough one for me. Like the top 3 or 4, boom, 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 I snapped them out easily. But this one was difficult because I thought of a lot of other places. Oregon would be one that I thought about as a great place to be. But I picked Texas. Did a bunch of games there for the Longhorn Network for a while, back when Mac Brown, my buddy, was coaching. And there is another environment thing. Again, it's not necessarily a gorgeous stadium. Some of these stadiums have been around a while, but you talk about an environment. Now, I was there at a very interesting and in some ways ugly moment, although it obviously didn't affect my affection for the city of Austin or for watching a game at Texas. But Texas had a quarterback. Gilbert was his last name, Gail Gilbert, big time recruit. And we did a game where they played BYU, and BYU whipped them in the first half and took a lead going into the dressing room at halftime. And they booed the Texas team off the field. And Gilbert had a particularly difficult game, awful game. And he was booed and did not last the season after that. He was a Texas kid. He wound up going to SMU and finishing his college career there. And it was an ugly, ugly night. And Texas won the game in the second half. And so that kept everybody happy, but nobody remembered that. All they thought about was the reaction of the fans. Now, why I picked that, maybe that was part of it. Maybe that scene was very memorable to me because the expectations at Texas, as you know, are as big as the state themselves, if not bigger. So, but that stuck with me. But the hearing the band, the music, the approach of the team on the field. I'll give you another one that I could have easily substituted. I feel like Rick Beato. You ever seen that guy's music channel? It's amazing on YouTube. And he does honorable mention. Tennessee. I could have possibly swapped Texas and Tennessee out because Neyland is something else. You get 100,000 in there and the team runs through the tee and everybody loses their mind. You know what? I'm going to make 11 out of this. This is going to be a list of 11 instead of 10. And I'm going to close out today's Almost Daily Dave with Knoxville, Tennessee. It's the only city where I have gotten a police escort into the stadium as well as out. And we all had flights after the game, and it was eastbound and down, loaded up and trucking, getting that police escort out of there. And they tell you, you got to stay close. You can't let the motorcycle officer or the police car get too far away because someone's going to cut in thinking that they're going to try to latch on. So I was the lead dog and woo! And I'm a lousy passenger, so I'm glad I was the driver because we're driving on shoulders. We're doing all sorts of things to get to our plane. This guy was so good that one of our commentators had a 3:45 flight. We got to the airport so fast, he had time to grab a bite to eat and still make his plane. So maybe that's why Neyland belongs on this list as well. Jimmy Davis, good job. Thanks, man. I'll have more for you tomorrow on the Almost Daily Dave, my top 5, unless something else pops into my head between now and then. Thanks for watching. This will be up on the YouTubes, of course. Please follow me on Twitter, and naturally, you're following on Facebook. I will see you tomorrow.